this episode's a little bit different because I have my husband, my business partner, and the broker of our real estate brokerage, Tim, with me today. And you know what? We're gonna just really get into it. So we run this thing together.
Yes.
We've built it together. We haven't managed to kill each other yet. So I think that's a bonus.
Close.
But I think for us to be able to start off with a bang would be my first question to you is, when am I the hardest to work with, either as your wife or your business partner? And I'm going to preface it with, don't pretend like there's a right answer.
There is no right answer. And I'll be very candid. We had it last night where we both are naysayers to each other sometimes. And I'm going to say it's not as bad as it used to be. So, because we're in year 3 or 4 now?
Of the brokerage.
So I think at the beginning we were each other's ideas was like naysaying because we were focusing on our own things.
Yes.
As opposed to trying to listen and do things like that. And then spending marketing money was always a little bit of a soft spot for you.
So what would you say then for our ability to create, or I'm not going to say create because it's a daily learning for me anyways, because if we're going to be honest, bringing business into a marriage, I think, is a dangerous game. And for a lot of people, I think it either makes or breaks a couple, because that church and state is something I struggle with. Yeah. So for as long as we have been together first, because that's 10 years this year, big one. Yeah. And as long as we've been working together, which very lightly started in the end of 2017, and then became hot and heavy by about 2019, 2020. What are the hard realities, I guess, for you between towing the line of spouse and business partner, church and state? When is it time to be a husband? When is it time to be the broker?
Well, when you're passionate about something, you have it on your mind all the time. And that's kind of shitty to say because at the same time, I'm passionate about my wife as well, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like if you talk about real estate all the time, then it kind of conflicts that. But
I don't know if you all saw that look. That's because I used to give him shit all the time.
Because I was a workaholic.
Still
100%. Well, I work pretty hard, yes. But when you add starting a business, stress of family, kids, money, things like that, going to fully commission-based from a very secure job,
yes,
is very hard. So you got to stay focused a lot more because on our side, or what I think about is taking care of not only the family, but the business as well. Yep. And it's not cheap.
No.
So, and then another struggle that we've had, and now I look at it a different way, but when you're stressing out like that about money and trying to get things going and all that, the other tough part is that we have 2 different personalities.
Very.
And it was very hard for me to start real estate because I'm not a salesperson or anything like that. And I don't mean sleazy sales, just like with people.
That outwardly extroverted personality type naturally.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I used to be concrete face. So
yes, that was his nickname for the first 2 years.
Yes.
We were together. Yes.
So that clashed for a long time too, till we found our groove at what each other was good at. Mm-hmm. And then it really took off from there.
Yes, I agree.
And then we had a surprise.
We did have a surprise. This was you want to talk about rock in the middle of your business world. So we were at a conference in Cancun, and we were so excited. We had quite literally just signed everything. Brokerage was open. We were recruiting agents. Like we were killing it.
Oh, yeah.
We were crushing it together as a team. We had found remarkable groove that we hadn't had in business. Yeah. We were incredibly successful. We were doing well month over month. That particular conference was the one just after we had won our first award for how far of a jump we had made in less than a year in real estate. And while we were in Cancun, an all-inclusive resort for more than a couple days, I got really sick and couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was a kind of sick that I'm literally never, even if I'm currently Marge Simpson and I'm sick, it was the type of sick I'm not.
It wasn't the 40-ounce flu.
It was definitely not the 40-ounce all-inclusive resort flu.
No.
And when we got home, I went to my doctor, and same doctor that gave me very disappointing news when I was 17 or 18, that I wouldn't ever have kids. And that was the same day that I found out I was pregnant with a very unplanned surprise baby. And I think for me, one of the biggest shifts that I saw that nobody can prepare, I think anybody for across the board, is going from being so business focused, business minded, crushing it with clients, such a groove, we're making money, like brokerage is opening, we're hiring agents, we're growing our teams, everything, we were
Fast
hiring
momentum.
admins, we were just killing it.
Yeah.
And then to know that I was pregnant and have what felt like just this huge iron wall at the end of a very specific timeline that meant I was going to have to walk away became very difficult for me because I was obviously incredibly excited when we told the other 4 kids. We did a Harry Potter locked room. Do you remember that?
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
It was incredible.
great.
They were so excited. Our families were excited. And it was a constant battle for me going back and forth between, I can't wait to be a mom, have this baby, and like through the whole experience, because I never thought I would get that, to in the same breath go, but I don't want to walk away from business, my clients, my drive, my groove, we worked so hard to get where we finally were. So knowing that I was about to have to walk away, kind of my brain was going to go a lot differently than it did. I really genuinely thought like I'd work all the way until I pop. And then once he's 3 or so months old, he'll go to daycare and I'll go back to work. He laughs because I was the purple people eater by about month 8 or 9. And I finally pulled the pin and was like, I need to be done. I need to walk away. I need to start getting ready for this. You were still doing conferences through that year.
I did, yes. I went to Georgia and, Toronto.
Yep.
Yep, yeah.
It was a different
It wasn't the same without you, though.
mindset because I think very quickly I walked away and got over my couple weeks of about having to walk away. I went full tilt the other direction into mommy land.
Mommy line.
And that meant I basically left everything on the broker in a lot of ways. I tried to work from home, but of course I was substantially less motivated because I was like, ooh, baby things, nurseries,
time.
baby showers, oh my God. So my focus was very quickly shifting. And I think for me, I know I felt like it went better, but for you, because I know that we've got lots of people, we've got lots of friends that went through the same thing. So in your experience, what was your take on that shift in our personal life that then affected our business life?
Going through it at the time was very difficult because growing to a place where you can't just do the work yourself, you have to take care of 6 or 7 people at the same time.
Yeah.
8 and 9. So
Yes.
that kind of was stressful at the time, and we pulled through and we made it happen, but it was long hours, very long hours.
Yes.
And fought over it quite a bit because under the burden of that stress, you become very quiet too.
Yes.
Where you don't want to chat about things because you're kind of upset. But in looking back at it now, I mean, Zeppelin, the baby.
Yes. The baby.
The baby. That's a once in a lifetime thing that you get to go through, and we all did it right. It was just we had to go through. You know what I mean?
You're being
but
very
that's okay.
gentle.
No,
You're being very gentle. Like,
back.
what was the struggle though? Like the daily that makes you more quiet, that makes you more like pop. And you heard me say it before. I don't want to be mad. And I hate saying out loud that I'm mad about having to walk away from clients because there are women all over the world that are like, you're pregnant. That is an awful thing to say. But I didn't know how to cope with it because both of them were like important factors in my life. And they were both, at the time, they felt equally as important to care for and nurture. But then eventually, obviously, Zeppelin won out the care and nurture scheme of things.
Oh, he was the baby.
So what was that like as a man, as the broker, being kind of in the wake of the storm, the fallout? Because we did experience fallout.
Yeah, to an extent. I think the biggest thing was because we have agents and that I like taking care of others before myself, usually, unless if it comes to like a surround sound system, then I'm into that. But
man has his needs.
Oh, it's pretty good. But like at the time, all the agents that we had, I wanted to make sure they were busy all the time. So
Right.
I went crazy on marketing, and it got up to, we were putting in like grand a month or something like that.
Yep.
And
Which I also didn't know at the time. We'll come
why
back.
you know that? I mean, I, when you were sleeping, I put it past you, and you said okay. So
See,
no,
church and state. It's all about that balance.
but yes, no. Essentially, that's that's the stress is right there. Is that freight train of the $10,000 per month, and whatever, and then hauling and that type of stuff, and that it gets tiring at that time. We were doing it together. The balance was great because we both could do our thing and get maybe some downtime as well.
Yeah.
I mean, something we had to go through, and at the same time, like, was your first transaction after he was born?
He was 2 months old.
Or I shouldn't say transaction. I hate that word.
I know.
When was the first time you helped your referral clients? It was Sean.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
And-
was 2 months. Zeppelin was 2 months old. Tim was at a conference.
Yep.
And they initially were not going to purchase. They were just going to take their time, used to the neighborhoods. They were from out of Canada. And I introduced them to Cochrane. And my parents live in Springbank. So a 2-month-old baby, I'm sitting at home hanging out, and a house popped up. And I sent it to the client, and I phoned the client, was like, we got to go look at this now. Like,
Now.
there's no option. We got to go. Met them at the house, bundled up the baby, brought the baby in, carried him around the house in his car seat, little potato. And we wrote an offer an hour later. So I had to drive back home in a blizzard, which was terrifying, to my parents' house. And my parents took the baby. And my dad is a realtor. He's a home builder. He's been a realtor longer than I've been alive, honestly, at this point. My dad sat and helped me go through all the paperwork and make sure I was getting everything in there because my mommy brain was real. We got her done, got it signed. The clients got their house. And I phoned Tim that night and was like, well, we have a 2-month-old baby, and I don't really know how it happened, but we did it. We got a deal.
Yeah.
And it just kept going from there because I'm
unremarkable, right? So that's not easy either. And I think like,
it was easy when he was a potato.
yeah, a lot easier because now he's a little rambunctious. But I'm gonna say
Yes.
like, and that's a point too. If you're like him stuff, you never do that stuff. It ain't happening. But if you're, it's your business, you got to take a little baby with you sometimes.
Yeah.
It can be hard, embarrassing, not professional.
Yes.
But you get the referrals, and they're like family already, so they kind of
Yes.
they're okay with it. That's happened quite some times.
I do try to
actually.
give them the disclaimer before I show up with the little Wreck-It Ralph, but sometimes it's like, surprise,
Yeah.
I have a co-pilot today, so
But luckily, it's not like that anymore because we're back into that groove. So it does.
Yes.
We had to go through that, liquor wounds and stuff like that. It was difficult, but we're still going.
Yes.
And yeah,
and we're growing in other ways now too, which I
Yes.
think for me is super exciting because we've got the podcast, we've got a few different within the brokerage now, so we can give our clients more to sort of where they're at as opposed to a more traditional mindset.
Yeah.
I love that because that to me is very exciting. When it comes to, I guess that's a really great opportunity, not at all charged, but I know how change is not always easy for anybody. When it comes to me, I like to pick it, run with it, and just deal with the potholes while we're on the road.
Yes.
I know you are not quite the same. So what has the changes in the brokerage or the changes in how we operate, what is that like?
So
Honestly.
well, really, I used to be like that too, right? So everything I'd be like, hey, let's do this, and then we'll just figure out all the details later. And then I spoke to, speak to your dad, I speak to Peter, all these guys that I really respect that have done it before and always have chatted with and always got pointers from and just wanted to pick their brain. And Peter said something profound, be patient, like don't rush through it.
Yeah.
And that's because I grew within a year and a half.
Yeah.
Fair, in a good size, like massive, but a great size. And I feel like it was just too rushed.
Yeah, it's a lot really fast.
Yes. So, and it's hard to control. Like the marketing got insane. Like, you know what I mean? And yeah, I monitored it and like that and the other. But I think there's better ways to do it. And also at the time, I think, I'm thinking I don't have to do everything. Do you know what I mean? So you can outsource things. Of course, at the beginning, you have little capital, so you gotta do everything yourself.
Yeah.
But that's also gets wearing and stressful. So it's better to get not that we're not professional, but professional help. It's good to know everything about the business because you can call out vendors because people will just take your money no problem when you're
And they do. We've
self-employed.
lived
They'll
that
be
a few
like,
times.
all your cash. So like,
Yep.
we burnt through a lot of cash that way. Yeah, yeah, that's the biggest thing I learned. You know what I mean? And another agent, Sergey, learned from him. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it took me 6 months to do this." I'm like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, maybe I should slow down a little bit and not rush it. You know,
Yes.
still gets done, but it can be better." And I think I can learn that way. I'm not in a rush anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the slowdown would be your biggest, I guess, learnt pivot in the business that we're in.
Yeah.
It's also hard to be slow in our business because our business is like we're not in a business where you can have a I'll call you back within 24 hours kind of policy. It's like need you now or next. And we live in a very right now industry.
Yeah, I guess I should clarify that. Good
Yes.
point. Nice.
Yes.
No, like a business,
Yes. Okay.
not the customers or clients, nothing like that.
Right.
That's not what I mean. I mean this AI, many chats, etc., etc.
No, but
You
even
know
to
what I
the
mean?
point of
Like down and do one or two things at a time, not all at once.
well, we're really good at doing it all at once.
We
I mean, even without the clients, because sometimes it's better to go slow with the client, and sometimes
Oh,
it is important to push them for them to see like you're gonna miss something, and it's a balance that we struggle with our clients, because you never want them to feel pushed or
Never.
forgotten. So it's a fine line there, but I'm more talking about like with our vendors when we're waiting for something to happen, an RPR, a home inspection, to get this report. I got lawyers waiting, I got mortgage broker waiting, I got conditions, I got timelines. When we're working with people that are that too slow from the business,
Yeah.
take 2 or 3 days to call you back. Our industry doesn't allow for that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think for me, one of the biggest struggles, even still to this day, is do have a client that is waiting and they're hungry and they're stressed out and they're freaked out and they just went through their week-long conditions and they haven't slept and they're waiting to make sure that they can get their house because they're excited.
yeah.
They're full of anxiety at this point, maybe with a stomach ulcer, who knows? Because that's what a lot of people go through. It's a stressful process, but it's exciting. I think the biggest thing for me is I have learned through the years, the preface of my heritage being a fiery breed of human.
Spark.
Don't often think before I respond. And that has got me into a lot of trouble because I will respond first out of emotion.
Yes.
But then I think from a business standpoint after the fact, it's like, oh no, that's probably going to hurt me later. Never in a way that is clients or anything like
No.
that. But when it does come to working with other professionals, when I am taking care of a client, it's almost like my mama bear shoots at me.
Yes.
It's very difficult for me to contain my expectation or my patience level when I want them to get the level of service from vendor A, B, and C that I have given them.
Yep.
When I don't see it, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
For me, I think one of the biggest struggles that I've had to really get more proficient at containing is when the time and the place are appropriate for emotion to be brought into a business conversation from a bulldog kind of perspective, because that's somewhere that I know I struggle. So
Yes, and I used to too, like a long time ago. I think, and the way I've learned to work around that is take everything that's in my control, like anything in my control, communication, follow up, all that stuff in my control. That's my responsibility.
yeah,
Because people have busy lives, they forget whatever
Yeah.
goes on. You never know, and we're quick to get pissed off when something doesn't happen, but
Totally.
you don't know what's going on the other side. So
Yeah.
before you know, if it happens consistently, then you'll take appropriate actions, and we
Yes.
have vendors. But so that's what I mean. I take things that are in my control. That's my responsibility. Anything after that that's out of my control, I can't be, report or, approved or whatever. That's out of my control. I can't I can't change that.
No.
So it has nothing to do with me. I don't sweat it. Doesn't bother me.
Oof. When I grow up, I want to be like you. Definitely not there yet. It's not there
You know,
yet.
it can be frustrating, but you move on and move on quick. You
Well,
don't
and
let it linger.
I think the humanization is the other piece I think that has been a continuous important path for the both of us. Not I often reference these things, but I did intentionally choose to have a tattoo on my hand, on my pointer finger, specifically my pointer finger, says "See the good." I really was getting to a very notorious point where it was always like, "Oh, you bad driver. Oh, you blah, blah, blah. Oh, you failed. Oh, you forgot." Oh, blah, blah. And I was constantly kind of even just like a mental shaking your finger at somebody, and eventually it got to the point where it was like, okay, well, like you were driving down the shoulder of Deerfoot at 140 because something is happening. Like obviously, I hope not.
Are you talking about Stony? That happened the other day.
Well, that did happen the other day, but I do try to. You know what? From the outside, it just looks like you're being careless or you're being reckless or you're being ragey, whatever. But I have to slow myself down and try to be like, maybe you got something going on. Like maybe you need to get to a loved one or something happened. And I never hope that for somebody because obviously I don't want to put it out there, universe person. It really has changed how I function, even with the kids on a personal level, because I don't know what you're dealing with. So I don't know why you're coming at me with what you're coming at, but you also don't know as a kid, I am coming at you with what I'm coming at. And so I think a lot of things that people miss, especially as an entrepreneur, because everything is on you, whether it's your responsibility or not.
Yep.
When at the end of the day, the buck stops here. And so I think it's really easy to lose sight of the human aspect.
Yeah.
It's the good or the bad, because there's both. We're human. Times it'll be a human error or life happens or system glitch, things come up. And I think for me, that's been one of the biggest pieces, even with us, is trying to understand, like, you coming at me going, you need to simmer down, Tiger. And I'm going, well, why aren't you more excited? But I'm not looking at it from your perspective or you're not looking at it from mine. So I think, for me anyways, that's been, I think, one of the hardest lessons that I still find myself being like, ugh, oops, okay, let's breathe. Because it's really easy to take off in that task mindset and then rabbit hole on the task mindset and kind of everything else in the wake that just gets left.
Yeah.
You think?
I think, well, I'm not sure actually. Like, you mean by the task mindset? Like,
When
it's
you
left
know
in the wake.
you've got, like currently with us, when you're in a position to, accounting software, signature software, deals managed, because, brokerage, we've got to make sure that we've got, accounted for, every file completed, everything. That's what I mean by that task mindset there. And I got to get it done. I got to get it figured out. I got to deal with it now. It's just, for me at least, everything else just kind of becomes like a little noisy fog.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on how rabbit hole I go, the noise isn't there anymore. It's just gone. So that's where I struggle, is trying to keep organized
I do
as an
too.
entrepreneur, because
Yes.
it's easy to, if it isn't a task like getting a CRM set up or whatever, if it's something exciting like a podcast,
Yeah.
really easy to sit for hours and hours and hours and obsess and plan and play and edit and do all of these things. And then all of a sudden you look and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't realize it was already 4:30. I didn't do a lot of what I needed to do today.
Yeah, you know me, I'm exactly like that, especially
Yes.
lately because of certain things. But Peter said to me too one time that really stuck with me, and this would be a good thing, because everybody tries to, there's so much out there about self-improvement.
Yes.
Set goals, do this, EOS, do that. There's
4 a.m. club.
so much. Yeah, 4 a.m. club. But you need to be awake, to be alert and be focused and have a right mindset to stay motivated, or what's the other one? Motivated, not disciplined,
Yes.
right? But he said something to me. He's like, this is the way I fill my schedule. If I have nothing to do, I think to myself, what can get me business right now? What can I do right now to get me business? And that's how he fills his schedule. That's how he does it. There's no. You used to goal set, like we used to sit there and like 3 months and a quarter.
Yeah.
That stressed the hell out of me.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make my goal, and it was stressful.
Vision boards.
Vision
you
board.
Really
I
wanna
like
party with that table.
But that I know. Sorry. I'm like that. But that vision board, I sent it to you the other day. I made that, in 2017, 16?
Yeah,
I have that motorcycle that's on that.
you do.
vision board, which is
You had
wild.
the gaming system, and then you got the other one that you
Yeah.
wanted more. But
I
you
want
did.
the other one,
You
but
did
that's another
crush
conversation.
a lot of the bulk of what was on your vision board.
Yeah.
And that comes
Except
back
for
to
the Arnold
mindset,
picture.
and we talk about mindset a lot.
Yeah.
Rogan says it a lot. Like, you don't need motivation, you need discipline.
Yes.
And look at Martha Stewart. Her new docuseries is on Netflix, so I watched it. Is very much a avoid, fill it how I can, where I can, but make it look as good as how other people do it. And that was a big recurring theme for her because she was the wife that lived in the neighborhood of all the Stepford wives. She did not have the ability to do what they were doing. So she was basically ad hocing and crafting and figuring out how she can make it look the same, but not cost the same. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, that mindset of how can I do it now,
Yeah.
benefit me now. But I think the entrepreneur mindset loses with what I have now. Because as entrepreneurs, I think we all think very big, very fast. We have growth mindset. That's
Yes.
something that we all share in common is like, the end game isn't for me to be doing this
10x,
until I die.
10x,
100%.
10x. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things is like, watch something like that. And then you look at what Martha Stewart turned into.
Yeah.
I think it really all stems from where a lot of people don't know how to make it work with what you have.
That's the thing, because it's so freaking noisy out there. And you just find the new shiny object every single time, right?
Well, and as
And
soon
that's
as
the
you
problem.
pick something from a business perspective, it's like, oh yeah, Instagram is bar none the best. This website provider, incredible.
Yeah.
And you get it set up, and you're almost at the end of getting it set up, and you're like, okay, how do we get that piece set up? Oh no, that's the only piece we don't offer. And
Yeah,
you're
it
like,
doesn't
oh
exist.
my God. So it's super frustrating because you always want more.
Yes.
And I think that's part of that discipline and that drive and that mindset. Because if you didn't want more as an entrepreneur, you probably shouldn't be running your own business. But I think the bigger piece of it is being able to, and this is where I am not very strong. I will own that one. Not good when it comes to frivolous in some ways. So, it comes to certain things for the brokerage. I am all about get it set up, get the boxes for the agents, get this, create it, make it beautiful. Oh, yeah, needed it, reprint it, recover it. Oh, God. But in other areas, I'm incredibly thrifty.
Yes.
So it's a difficult balance when you are that entrepreneur mindset and you are a lot better with management of those things without my peer pressure.
Here's where. Oh, sorry. Can I?
Oh, no,
interrupt?
yeah.
Here's where differences are. You're fast to think of something and do it.
Yes.
Think of something, get the details, and then put it together, and then do it.
Yeah.
I think we balance each other out well for the most part.
Yeah.
With that, works both ways. It
Oh,
works
100%.
both ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a struggle too until you realize that that's what's happening. Like that balance doesn't always look like balance in the beginning. And I think for a lot of people that's like because it's really easy, like we said at the beginning, it's easy to naysay. It's easy to be like, oh, you're not listening to me. Oh, you don't
Yeah.
get it. Oh, like whatever, I'll do it myself. It's really easy to bullhead into it.
Yeah.
I think now that we understand that that is a complementary balance for us as a couple and as business partners,
Yep.
I think it's profound when you get to the point where you can look at something and go, it doesn't need to be that I'm in business with you as my husband. Life is literally made of everybody that wants to see you fail. They will watch you fail and they will almost encourage it with this little, and that's where mindset plays on you as an entrepreneur, right? People want to be like, oh, well, if you're not doing that, like, ugh, you're going to compete, or, oh, well, if you can't afford that, like, maybe you should wait, or like, you don't have that many agents, like, you must be bleeding money. Like, there's so
But
many
the only-
naysayers,
The only voice that matters is what's in between your ears. Other than that,
but it's hard to hear that over the noise all the time.
I just filtered out. Deleted. Moving on.
So how then? How do you delete it? Because I can't. It took me a really long time especially in our industry, because it is very competitive. It took me a really long time to get to a place where I could be like, okay, what works for you? That's not where I am. And what we're doing is working. So what is it about the naysay? Like your mindset. Talk about your mindset then. What is it about being able to filter it out, being able to not let it phase you, being able to stay focused? How?
I can't say I'm 100% perfect
No
at
one
all.
is.
No, so that's not possible. But I'm used to be like that, and I don't like it. I don't like wasting time thinking of it.
Yeah.
I don't like. I like thinking of things that will grow the family business, or for the family, or good for us, and that's all I care about. Other than that, care about friends, family, and our clients are friends.
Always.
Yeah, just had some come over the other
We did,
night for
actually.
for a birthday party. But one of them we consider a friend, and partially family. I'm another time, but to me that's what I think of as opposed to like we have a friend fallout. It doesn't take me long. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
and
it is what it is, really.
yeah,
You can do about it.
exactly. So and not in a bad way. It's just like okay, moving on. I got other things to do. I got people that well care about us, me, you, have our family, we have our son. What more do I need? I don't need that in my space.
That's huge because I grew up, as you know, home builder, again, longer than I've been alive, realtor, longer than I've been alive. And he is, I think, the epitome of like a great white shark when it comes to being an entrepreneur because there was never
100%.
a month in my life with my dad where it wasn't like, I'm going to build houses. Now we're building duplexes. We'll do infills. Oh, look, sandstone. Oh, look, bobcats. Oh,
Yeah.
snow clearing. Oh, and it was just this constant
exciting.
onslaught because it was that do or die. And
Yeah.
in my brain, looking at it, I was like, oh my God, you're just like a machine. Like, don't you want to like, his constant plate spinning, no matter how hard it was or how, I would say putting your chin on someone's desk and being like, you got to help me out, man.
Yeah.
It's hard, but what's the alternative? Like, get into our worlds as entrepreneurs. Yeah, perks.
Yeah.
To do this in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
To go to Banff and go to the Fairmont and plan our business.
yeah.
To do
And
things,
bump into friends.
right?
Yeah.
And things that people in a 9-to-5 traditional setting, and I say 9-to-5, I know that they're all not 9-to-5, but in a traditional employed setting, people aren't able to do that. It's a vacation day or a sick day, and then you're penalized on the back end financially. And I think, growing up in that environment with a very fierce entrepreneur, sort of white shining light in my life because he was vibrant and he's hilarious, and he
Witty,
very much
clever,
like your
smart.
dad.
Yeah.
Our dads owned businesses that they loved running into a client at the grocery store. They loved seeing somebody. They'd be like, Brian, oh my God, oh yeah, hey, how you doing? How's your wife? They knew the names of the kids, the pets, the wife, the address, they knew because they cared. And I think part of the reason that we haven't killed each other yet in this business is because both of us went into it wanting that, I'm going to say old school methodology,
Yep.
but being able to do it in the world that isn't old school anymore, right? Nothing is traditional anymore. A lot of people are going back to certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
But like networking doesn't really happen anymore. It isn't a handshake deal anymore. It isn't handwritten anymore.
No, it's because we've got a mountain of paperwork.
Well, it's changed and
Yes.
it's evolved, but I think the connection piece of it got lost. And I think the beauty, at least in my opinion, for us,
Yeah.
that because we both came from those types of entrepreneurial backgrounds, and it was both our dads, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think both of us want the freedom, I'll use that loosely,
Yeah.
the freedom of being an entrepreneur in the sense that you have a little bit more control on your schedule or where your schedule can happen. And it isn't always, and it's not consistent. We don't get paid vacation. That is like anomaly until you get to a certain place. We were talking to friends of ours who've owned their company for a long time, and it took them 10 years
Yeah.
before they actually got to go on an actual vacation and not work. And I think a lot of people don't realize what it takes to get to a place where your clients love you and remember you. And you can go on vacation and it doesn't cost you. You're not losing business.
Well, our vacations was conferences.
Yes.
So
Well,
it's
we
work.
got to loop them in together.
Yeah.
It's a difficult blend, right? So
Yeah.
I think going back to what you were saying about being able to focus on what's important, and drive the priority mindset, I think is hard because it's really easy to get kind of into the middle of like, oh, I forgot about that. Oh no, then there's that. Oh, there's a fire over there. And I think it gets really easy to let the noise in. It's becomes really easy to feel like you're drowning sometimes in
Of
business.
course. Yeah.
I think it is remarkable that, thing that I've seen about you even before we were entrepreneurs together, you had that ability when you were, 9 to 5 with the privileges and the things. You still had the same mindset. And I think that's something that a lot of people are like, ooh, one day, today. I think it's a big piece of what we do.
It's like right?
Yes.
Because of my past, my history.
Yes.
It is something that I had to do or be miserable. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that thing. So you seek for improvements, like the Joe Rogan, be your own hero, or what's it called, be the hero of your own movie.
Yep.
Right? Things like that. Les Brown all the time. I used
Totally.
to watch it all the time. Not as much anymore, but
But it's powerful because it's funny because I listen to some of them and it can be the most profound thing that I've heard a million times.
yeah.
Doesn't actually matter until you hit that point where you're like, oh,
It resonates
I
with
get
you
it
when
now.
it's time to resonate with you, for sure.
yes.
100%.
And I think that's where a lot of people give up on mindset because I think a lot of people don't hear it until they're ready to hear it.
I used to feel like, remember that Saturday Night Live person? I don't
Yes.
remember who it was, but they're like, gosh darn it, I am good enough. I used to think, oh, am I one of those people? You know what I mean?
Amazing.
Yeah, but no, it really does help. And that was the biggest thing throughout, like, routines, because I would watch it in the morning, get me going with coffee, right?
I think honestly, and I think anybody should do this. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or not. I think, and we've done this a couple of times, both personally and professionally. And I think if you sit down, and yes, initially it sounds like a very negative activity. It's not. You remember doing this. Sit down and write down, point form, not paragraphs, don't kill yourself, but point form everything that you've been through. So if you're doing it from a business standpoint, we almost bankrupted, we changed banks, found an investor, saved the bacon, we're good. So almost bankrupted, we did this, we did
Well, I
this, we
wouldn't
failed
say
at this.
we were
No,
close, we
I'm
weren't,
giving
yeah.
examples.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying like down everything in your corporate life as an entrepreneur that you have come through. I'm not saying unscathed. I'm not saying that you came through it and won, but that you actually got through it and you still have a business or your business. And then sit there and look at that list. And I know for a fact, not a single person can look at that and then look at where you are today, knowing you lived through all of the shit on that list. And then you lived to be today, still doing what you're doing and being able to continue moving forward to be able to do more
Yeah.
is something that should never be forgotten.
Oh, I think you should go further than that, all the way till when you're a baby. Learning how to talk. Look at how Zeppelin is like persistent
Oh, yeah.
in learning everything.
It's
and he's happy
remarkable.
about it.
Yes,
And he gets frustrated when you don't let him do it.
totally.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing personally. Yes, like with relationships, friendships, your food habits, like just whatever you're going with in your life that you're like, holy wow. Okay, gives like an undeniable amount of perspective that I think it's like self-talk without actually having to self-talk yourself because it is a very unarguable way to look at like that.
Yeah.
Smokes, like did that and we're still going.
Yeah. A
Like,
good,
oh,
a good saying that has helped me, a huge, like, which I have to remind myself constantly of, is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result.
yes.
And that shit works in everything. So that works in, like, communication, for instance. So you try a different approach. Games, I
Yeah.
used to be stuck. Oh, yeah, there's a way, like Last of Us or whatever,
Yeah.
going the same way. And then I remember that quote and I tried something else and it worked way easier. And I'm like, oh, there's something to this.
Really do tend to
like,
make it hard for ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
Our own block in many ways.
Yeah, you get stuck. And, I have already learned this. This is how I should do it.
Yes.
But if
absolutely.
you tried it another way, like brush teeth with your left hand, it's different, right?
Yes. Well, I
Some
think
way,
it's
some
also
way.
important too, like at that point, brushing your teeth with your left hand, changing up when you eat dinner, falling into such a like
Pattern.
clad routine because neurologically, in that neuroscience book that Sano had me read,
Yeah.
does talk about how certain connections in your brain begin to fail because they're not being forced to stay alive and deal with the change in time, scenario, hand, foot, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize it until all of a sudden it's never used to do that. Why is that such a tick now? Like, oh my God. And I think it's easy because it feels safe and it feels organized and it feels predictable.
Yeah.
It feels controlled. So it doesn't feel like everything in your life is spiraling out of control when your business is like a bunch of little fire pots everywhere. I think the biggest piece of that is it takes you having to do it for yourself. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs fail the biggest, I think, is because they, just like you said, I will put everybody before me, but then your mindset isn't being taken care of. And I think when it comes to being a married couple in business together, know that you're a strong man, that you're strong-willed, that you're brilliant. And I think, I watch you
Stubborn,
doing
not
and
brilliant.
working and stubborn. We both are. But when I watch you working and doing and, tasks just pounded off the list, my brain is like, damn, he's doing good. I'm not messing with that. My first instinct is not to be like, okay, what have you done for you today? Like, I think
no.
that's it's a big piece that people don't realize the importance of. And I think, especially in our business, because it is, I think, every business,
Yeah.
doing it so that someone else sees value and enough value to pay you for a service, an item, whatever. And I think when, like you said, all of our clients are friends. A lot of our clients have become like family. And I think the biggest reason that was even possible for us, even when we were insanely busy and, I'm going to be honest, hardly keeping up with all of everything that needed to be
tasks,
done. I think the biggest reason that kept that emotion alive with our clients was because we haven't ever, in my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong, we have never lost the root reason as to why we opened a real estate brokerage.
That's right.
We never lost sight of, we didn't want to be transactional. It wasn't
right.
It wasn't lead number next. It wasn't a clinical, you're a number. You want to do 100 deals this year, your deal 55.
Yep.
No, it was you are Susie and Tom and you have a baby and you live in this apartment and now you're pregnant with twins. Are you okay?
That's right.
Because holy moly, like talk about stress on top of stress. We've always humanized or tried.
Yes.
We're not perfect, but we've always tried to be more than, and I'm going to use air quotes, traditional agents. There are many really amazing agents. There are many really amazing dentists. There are many really amazing lawyers. But there are lots of people that are in industries that they're not super amazing suited for.
Yes.
But their motives are different than mine. My motive and your motive was to create a business where 10 years from now we could run into someone and they'd be like, oh my God,
Yes.
you had a baby. What? Like, wanted people to remember us for caring on a different level.
That's right.
And I think that was what saved us on the marriage side of our business.
Yeah.
Was that our values never changed.
They're pretty, very similar. Honesty part and just being clear and like, get us wrong. Everybody's into it to make money for sure.
Well, of course, it's a for-profit
Right.
industry.
It's a for-profit industry.
We're
and
not
it's-
for-profit.
But yeah, at the same time, there's been many times where I could see where this could get hard, but when a deal doesn't go through or doesn't get accepted or whatever, you can't let that bug you either. Like, doesn't bug me. You know what I mean? Like, I get excited when it's all done and
Yeah.
there's this get compensated for your efforts. I think that's fantastic. But at the same time, if a house ain't right for a person, if the price isn't right when you're going to sell, or whatever, the terms
Yep.
aren't sufficient, or whatever comes up, it doesn't matter because it's theirs. You
Yes.
just do the best to facilitate what they're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I can see in this industry how it would be difficult to navigate that because
Yes.
it's not easy.
No, it's not.
And there's a lot of agents out there, and I'm sure everybody's intention is good originally or during or whenever. But, with real estate, you're wearing all hats: marketer, scheduler,
Marriage
analyzer,
counselor,
marriage
babysitter.
counselor. Yeah. You got more of the emotional side. So yeah, that's the gist of it, I guess. Like,
Agree.
but our core is definitely the same, 100%. And that's where the patience came back into.
Yes.
Because when we grew so fast, I felt like it was getting more transactional than that, and I didn't like that at all.
No,
I
I'm the
struggled
same.
with that.
Yep.
Big time. So, and agents were fantastic. The one,
Yeah.
but yeah, very good to their
Oh no,
clients,
we've had
which was
incredible
amazing. It was
agents,
actually
still do.
inspiring. Yeah.
And now that we're looking for a slower growth again,
Slower growth. Yeah.
I am excited about meeting more agents like that because it was remarkable that we
was.
ended up creating this little family of
It
agents.
was awesome.
And it worked really well. And we really, part of it was luck, part of it was intent. But I do think that, I think we're in a better place now
Yeah.
to be able to take the approach with the ability to sit back and go, because maybe not yet. I think we've both learned the hard way and the financially painful way of why it is really nice to breathe.
Yeah.
But
Enjoy it, right?
yes.
That's the thing. You got to enjoy it, or else what the hell are you doing it for?
Well, yeah, you're stressing yourself out to the
Shit.
point where you're like, this is awful.
Yeah, you got to enjoy the ride. That's the whole point.
Back to the mindset and the value.
Yeah.
I think maybe to wrap it up,
Yep.
because I could probably sit here and chat with you for hours.
know
As you
you
know,
can.
you never actually answered my initial
It's great.
question.
Which one?
Am I harder to work with as a wife or as a business partner? And then I want to know why. Like, I can't leave them hanging.
What do you mean? Like hard work? Like equal?
Oh, so I'm just unilaterally difficult.
Well, I'm difficult too. You know,
But where, honestly?
in what areas? Well, like I said, we balance each other out. With
Don't
Zeppelin, I'm
dance
like,
around the
I ain't dancing
answer.
around nothing. With Zeppelin, I'm like free, do what he wants. Not okay, to a certain extent, but learn at the same time. Not like, hey,
Yeah.
But down the baby gate, let him explore, let him go around. Let's,
Mommy anxiety.
yes.
For all of you that know.
Yeah, but that balances out because.
So then
now
would you
he's doing it.
say that my wife hat bleeds into my business partner
Yes.
hat, my business partner bleeds into my wife hat?
Wife, to
Really?
business. Yeah.
Probably wouldn't disagree with you.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that, and you do honestly. If you're not arguing, like argue, that's communication. It's
As
part of
long
it.
as it's healthy. I think we're
Yeah.
at a healthy place. We've had some
Feisty
ferocious,
ones.
feisty moments.
Yeah,
But I think that's also how you get to learn, like, the threshold,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, you look at anybody that is like a BMXer,
Yeah.
do ridiculous things on one wheel, and it's like, okay, so to fall flat on your face, break your nose, break your clavicle, you've done that a couple times. Now you know the threshold.
yeah.
I'm not saying it needs to get to that place.
No.
But I think that's how a lot of people learn is by testing the limit.
Well, no, you learn how to communicate more effectively over time if you're willing and care about the person. I think.
Oh, look at
Right?
you.
Yeah.
He's looking for brownie points, I think. Well, I agree.
I hope I got some.
I agree with you. I think honestly, bring everything, I guess, back into one thought.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? No fluff. No, you can do it. A legit shit answer. But
Mm-hmm.
what would your biggest takeaway or piece of advice or try not to forget this to other married couples or mutual
Or
couples,
anybody.
common law, whatever, a couple that is together, that is in business together? What would you say is the biggest thing you wish you would have learned going
Oh.
into business with me?
That I don't know, to tell you the truth. It's still a learning process, and it always will be. I think. Yeah. All I can say for like you're thinking of or whatever, because we came from 9-to-5 jobs, which paid very well.
I
It
know.
was very comfortable.
It was very comfortable.
But it was boring as hell.
Yeah.
So.
And
do you want-
restricting.
So, and it's not for everybody, but for me, and I told you before, I need to be challenged. I don't want to be bored. So, I like problem solving. I like setting things up. I like doing that type of stuff. And at a job, you're limited. Or here, you're not limited. You could do whatever. You could do what you want. Restraints to finances, but like you can do what you want. But it's challenging. So
Yes.
every day is a challenge, and I used to, like you said, I used to hear that, and it never made sense to me. You know what I mean? It didn't resonate, but now it resonates with me more.
Yeah.
Foot ceilings resonates with me way more now.
Well,
Yeah.
I personally would say, in my experience to date, which I'm sure, like the weather in Calgary, ask me in 5 minutes, it'll change. But as of this moment, I would say the biggest piece that I've learned is making
Right.
sure, hey, Dagger, he's often right, which is the unfortunate
No,
piece of this
that's
whole
not
thing.
true. You're right.
He's logic. I'm emotional. Logic
Balance.
usually
Balance.
brings us to
Yeah,
a safer
the
place
justice
after.
scale balance. We're good.
But I would say currently, and for everything that we have gotten through, lived past, succeeded, whatever.
Big time together. Yeah.
I think the biggest piece of it is being like, go to the bathroom, you flush the toilet. Like that kind of consistent, you don't do one without the other. I think for me, the biggest piece of it is at the end of every day, there is always something that we do nightly. It's every night in our house that you and I find a way to come back
hang
to
out.
each other.
Yeah, yeah.
It sometimes, yeah,
Every
you know
night.
what, business bleeds over and we're talking till business about till 10, 11, midnight, whatever.
But at least
But
you have
we-
something to talk about.
Yes, but we never go to bed without feeling like we came back to each other, even if it isn't perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go to bed mad. Sometimes
Yeah.
you're stressed out, you're tired. One falls asleep in the middle of the conversation, the other one's still awake. I've done that. But I think it's critical as a couple in business to remember that you were married or you found each other first
Yeah.
before you introduced this
Yes.
cycle of self-pain yields huge success and so much fun and incredible stories, but you did it as a couple first.
Yeah.
In everybody's case, I realized a lot of people met in business first and then became a couple, but I think it's still important to understand that you need to come back to like,
Yeah, I think another important thing is too that if you're not married and if you gotta you can do it the other way, but not when you're in a marriage. You still feel certain ways, even though say if you're not married,
Yeah.
live alone, whatever.
Yeah.
You feel a certain feeling, or you feel shitty or happy or whatever.
yes,
You
good point.
Still feel that way, but in a marriage, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but in a marriage, you're still individually feeling a certain way.
Yes, and they don't always match. They don't
Yes.
always agree. They don't always
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah, to be like, oh, my wife's pissing me off, but no, really, it's something else. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just something you go through individually as well.
Yes, it's that's actually a really good
know?
point because, yes,
but you
it
can
is
easily-
important to remember that you were individuals.
Yeah.
Are going to continue maintaining some level of individuality
Mm-hmm.
even within your marriage, and I think that's a great point because even in our business, you can tell what is my name written all over it and what is your name written all over it.
Yes.
And I think
Like this.
that's, yes, this is very much my name written all over it,
Yeah.
less his name all over it. But humor me, you support me, you do it with me, even though you're like, I have so much to get done at the office. And I think that is that blend that is hard. That's probably the hardest part of business, honestly, is finding that blend. I'm not going to call it a balance, it's a blend. Because some days it's going to be stronger coffee, some days it's going to be stronger sugar. It just depends on the day. But I think that blend more consistently than not
Yeah.
has been a key for us.
It's the 80% rule.
Yes, it's true. And that is
What is it? 80%? Oh, 20% rule, isn't it?
80.
Put in 20% to get 80% out of it or something? Yeah, that's it, 20%.
Yes.
We're more 80, but get 90 out.
We're getting there. It's not a perfect science yet.
Just kidding.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, I'm excited that we got to do this episode because
Yeah.
I think it is cool knowing your history, how long you were corporate, all the perks, the company cars, all of the stuff. I think, we've done, even though we have towed the line many times of like, make it, we'll make it,
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. I think it's been really fun.
Not boring.
It has been really fun. It's been
Yeah.
spicy, but it's been fun. I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you. This is great.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a good little chat. But I think for the end of this one, what I'll do is I will attach the co-app. You can download it. You have my EOS platform. Highly recommend you to look into it. An incredible platform that teaches you how to humanize when you're working with people and take the naysay opinion out of it and be able to focus on their capacity. Even if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're a solopreneur, important to do it with yourself too, because the tools that I'll attach below from the EOS platform, they're really incredible because it talks about your capacity and your willingness and are you meant for the role that you're doing? Maybe you aren't meant for the role that you're doing. So how do you navigate that as an entrepreneur? How, when you don't have the money to pay a salary, how do you get the help to do the work, or how do you find the resources to help you do the work until you're at a financial point that you can pay for it without it bending or suffering or breaking the business you're trying to build. So I'll attach those to the podcast. You'll be able to download them. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Love you to bits.
I love you to bits.
And we'll do another one next week.
Cheers.